But yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into the slides I put up together this week. Much shorter than last week, of course, because last week roped 2 weeks together, but still some pretty solid updates and things that we had go on for Foxes. So starting off with quality of life updates. One of the fun things that we created, and I'll touch a little bit on, I'll say like the background mechanics to it because it's a little bit more challenging. Dev, when he puts together items like the first item on here, so the ability of having perks for a tier system that we have created in Raffle. So there's tiers 1 through 5. It's primarily created to help people do like a certain level of due diligence when they're entering into raffles. Um, Again, based off of like your risk tolerance, odds are someone that's a tier 5, like you've entered their raffles before, you might be familiar with them, so you might be more comfortable just buying those tickets. Whereas a tier 1 means someone's basically brand new. Tier 2 means they might have raffled, a few NFTs. I think it's a 10 gets you to tier 2, and then tier 3 is a little bit higher than that. So you might just do a little bit more research on it. But when these things are created, these different tiers, like they're created on chain, so it's based off of information that's coming from the chain. And in order to give like perks for it, Dev wanted to make on-chain profiles associated with this activity. So for the 8,000 accounts that we have in Raffle, we had to create profiles for them. And so that basically just means that like that on-chain tracked data, we're able to give perks essentially to people that have reached these certain tiers if we want to. And so the first thing that we had before is like we enabled 12-hour raffles because people had asked for it, and then they're like, well, maybe we should get rid of them because people were just like spamming the heck out of it, especially from like early tiers in order to try to just get up to the higher tiers if possible. And they're spamming these really low price NFTs. And so we basically made these profiles, and then had set it up so that only tier 4 or higher, tier 4, tier 5, can create raffles that are as low as 12 hours. 12 hours is the minimum for tier 4, tier 5. For everyone else, it's 24 hours as a minimum. And it's, fun because the background mechanic is an on-chain profile. It's associated with that tiering mechanism. So that's within raffles. In Foxy Mint, and someone had asked a question about this in chat after we had published it, but basically when you create an NFT using Foxy Mint, it normally would have cleared out all of your information. For some people that were making multiple NFTs, if they're using, the same different identifiers or metadata or just doing like slight tweaks from one to another, they wanted to just keep it up. And so we gave the option for you to not reset the form after minting. So again, just a simple, small quality of life enhancement for anyone that's using Foxy Mint. And then within Citrus, we added the total default offer stats for lender profiles as well. That way you can kind of go in and see those statistics for defaults that happen. And what's worth mentioning on Citrus is if anybody is interested, because I know you can get to it from the leaderboard, but just so that people are aware of essentially the way to do it. If you know of a wallet that is lending, especially if it's somebody you want to kind of see their history, what their strategy is, like what have you, you can grab their wallet address and check them out on the stats page. So you don't have to look up just your own profile stats. You can look up any wallet address that lends on Citrus to kind of look through their history and statistics. I think it's pretty cool. I think just that extra level of transparency, especially around people, again, wanting to try to figure out strategies, see what people are doing, what seems to be working, what doesn't seem to be working. Because at any given time, the lending space can be very, very different, which essentially is one of the reasons that we have our one push today, which we'll touch on a little bit. But I just think it's pretty helpful again for anyone that's interested in grabbing, some of that information for defaults within Citrus. And I just and I thought it was funny too. Not funny, but I thought it was interesting when I popped into Citrus earlier today. I was like, well, what kind of graphic do I add to this giant orange space that's in this slide? And I saw there actually were four defaults that had popped up. Two of them I think we're for, well, one says Mindfolk Founder. I thought the other one was a Mindfolk Founder as well. That Spore thing. And then two clays. There were four defaults on there. I'm like, that's perfect for me to add in as an image for the quality of life updates. Let's see, as far as events that went on this week, first one was our bi-monthly raffle drawing. So this one was actually quite sizable. Our volume did have a decent tick up in raffles for the first half of this month. February was not the same exact case, but within the first 2 weeks, we allocated about 450 soul worth of prizes towards it. So we had gotten a golden shoey, I don't know, helmet ute. It was a little bit off of floor. People were like, oh yeah, it's a little bit more desirable. I think it was like an extra 5 or 6 soul, something like that compared to floor. So we got that, 3 FFFs and then 6 TFFs and 3 dens. So pretty solid allocation for prizes, and the way in which I just wanted to include the way in which you are eligible to get into the bi-monthly raffles. It's purely based off of your activity within those tools, or within raffle, I should say. It's 1 ticket per 100 soul worth of volume sold, and 3 tickets per 100 soul worth of volume of raffles bought. So just wanted to put that in there. That way, folks are familiar with basically how many tickets they get like allocated into this pool. And I draw it live. Sorry, Oceanal, I'm gonna sort of mute you right quick. But I draw it live. I try to post when we're gonna draw it live in the Raffler DAO, and the only rule that I've set for this is that you can't win more than one unique prize for that category. So it's very rare that one person will win more than once. As an example, we had over 6,000 tickets for this drawing. So of the, what is it, 13 prizes, the odds are that you're not going to win twice. There was one person that was drawn twice for, I think, the TFF, so I'm going to just recycle that name. But yeah, pretty solid drawing, and shout out to all the winners. I did post, I think I posted all of that in the Raffler DAO. I have a form that we keep track of everything for that too. If anybody's interested in checking out our sheet for it, just let me know. I'm more than happy to kind of post out more information about that. And then this brings me to the bigger update that I mentioned a little bit earlier, which is what we define as mortgages, or at least it's like the simplest way to call it something from a loaning standpoint. So on Citrus, you can do what's called mortgages, which essentially is buy now, pay later. The way that it works is we've linked in with Hades, Tensor, and Hyperspace. So basically, the pooling mechanism, or AMMs, within them, where you can purchase an NFT from that AMM utilizing any loan on Citrus. You can pick whichever one you want that's available for that collection, and then you just pay the delta. Um, there is also, which I don't think Dev is included in yet, but whatever the pool fees are do not show on that page. So I will put that as a caveat that I know Dev is still working on making sure that the pool information does show properly, so people don't think there's a price difference based off of any fees that we're charging additionally, because that's not true. Citrus, or I'm sorry, this mortgages or buy now pay later, no additional fees on our side. So the only fees a borrower pays is when they pay back that SOL. They pay based off of the interest. And yeah, it's essentially that's it. So you pay the difference between whatever the loan price is and the NFT price from that pool. You get the NFT. It does get locked into your account until that loan is paid off. And just like any other loan, if you don't pay that off in that period of time that the term is set for, then that loan gets defaulted to the lender. So that's how it's kind of set up. I know there might be some questions around that, so I'll kind of pause real quick. I don't know if anybody has questions specifically on that feature. I guess I can check chat too.
Yeah, I got a question. Could you just repeat that last little bit that you said? as far
Um,
as like defaulting goes with the mortgages?
yeah, so basically if you default on paying that loan back, the person that's the lender that lent you SOL for that NFT will be the one that gets the NFT. So basically, yeah, so basically if you want to look at it this way, it's like you're taking money from a lender, and you're putting a little bit up, like let's call it 5%, maybe 10% that you're putting up. It should be higher. It should be probably closer to 20%, but there are cases where it can be as low as 5, 6, 4%. Um, and that's being sent to the seller. So the seller gets paid full SOL, and the NFT gets like basically frozen in your wallet, and then you have to pay the loan off in order to do anything with the NFT. So you basically have like that period of time. If it's 2 weeks, if it's 3 weeks, if it's 3 days, that's the amount of time you have to pay off the loan in order for the NFT to be yours. If it doesn't get paid off, if it gets defaulted, then the NFT gets sent to the lender.
Like for example, this slide you have up right now, it says total payable 6.13. Who's that going to, or where
The
does that go?
Great question. So basically, the 52.63, so the full 52.63, that's going to go to the seller in the pool. So if that's on Tensor, let's say, the seller that's selling that Fox, they're going to get that full amount of SOL. The lender here is lending 46.5 SOL. So you're borrowing 46.5 from that lender. If you don't pay that plus the 1.87 plus the 0.281 fee within that 2 week period, then they'll get the NFT if it defaults, if they claim it after it defaults.
Got you. And then, um, so this is like, for example, in theory, you could sell something of a collection on Hades, Tensor Hyperspace, or is that something that you would have to put up in a pool?
No,
Like,
yeah, yeah. So you're saying from an actual
it's not
seller's
like a
standpoint.
listed NFT, but it has to be like a NFT that's put in a pool,
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, which is the same thing. Any NFT that's in a pool, I think is technically listed. It just depends on what the price point is for the amount of NFTs in that pool
Hmm.
at that current price. So, um, as NFTs get bought out of the pool, price goes up. As NFTs get put in the pool from people, it goes down. So it just is based off of whatever however the pool's set up for it.
Got you. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and it should, for what it's worth, the picture on the right-hand side actually shows better from the mortgage standpoint. So you could see all the foxes that are listed there within those pools. So we are working with Magic Eden to get them included as well. The main goal here is to make sure that essentially you have the best offer possible or the lowest price possible for purchasing, as compared to only having, a set like only Hades or only Magic Eden or whatever, or only Hyperspace. So our main goal here is to try to aggregate every pool that exists. Mortgage idea come from people started mentioning 2008. No, actually, the mortgage idea came from a few people that were commenting us before for even creating lending in the first place. And I think the main goal was looking at some other models out there that were doing something similar, but more of a, um, what's the proper term for it? Like a leveraged NFT purchase, which, in all honesty, from my personal opinion, is ridiculous. This is still technically, in a leveraged state, but it's a bit different where you won't get liquidated. You have a defined period essentially to get liquidated, right? Like your liquidation is once the loan is up. If you're not able to pay it off, then the NFT just gets sold off. It's not like you have this price marker that keeps ticking up until eventually it triggers, and the NFT actually just gets liquidated and you lose everything. This is an example where, if this loan were to default, you only lose out of 6.13 SOL plus whatever the pool fees are. So, I mean, it could be like I don't know, 7.5 sol or so move, and the possibilities are on both ways, where you could be risking 7.5 sol to possibly make more money off the Fox price if it goes up in the 2 week period, or lose it if it goes down in that 2 week period. So it's similar to, but I would say just a bit less risky compared to leveraged NFT trading, which again I think is a little ridiculous. Solid. Um, yeah, I do agree. Thanks, MJ. The other part too that we added in, I think, to make Citrus, I'll say, a little bit more fun, but at the same time to encourage communication, is we added in a widget within Discord, and it was funny too because once we added it in, Dev was like, "All right, let's keep this channel to, like, more important as business chat or whatever, because it'll be live on our website and people, just be the same degenerate people that they are." But if you go on the Citrus website, so citrus.famousfoxes.com, bottom right hand corner, you see a little Discord button. You do have to link your account in order for it to show the chat for you to respond back. You can still see it, but you just can't respond back unless you link it. Um, and it's super, super helpful. It goes both ways. If you're in the Discord channel and you're chatting, people's name will come up that says bot. That just means they're communicating through the website versus through Discord. So that's all that means. People were kind of curious because maybe we were kind of worried that people were actually bots when they were just communicating back and forth. But super, super helpful. I think it will add like a level of transparency for people that are looking to put up offers, looking to get offers filled, especially for reborrow, which I think has been one of the more important ways of opening up that communication channel for. And last item in here is the Citrus Raffle Prize Pool. So you can find more information about that by clicking on that ticket in the bottom right hand corner on Citrus. But we added in an Oogie and a Bastard to it. We just saw, I mean, we're not collecting fees right now this week. We're wrapping up the end of 0% fees for Citrus. But we wanted to add a little bit more, of an incentive for people to do it. The ticket rules for that Citrus raffle is also posted with that ticket as well. Basically works the same way as our raffler raffle. So you get one ticket for every 100 soul worth of volume lent, and 3 tickets for every 100 soul worth of volume borrowed. And it only counts if the loan is successful. If the loan defaults, then we don't include that volume on either side. It's the easiest way for us to kind of handle, the fees perspective if you're looking at it, and also minimize like washing that people are doing on it. So just want to throw that out there. Total prize pool on that, I'd have to think about what the total is. I know we have at least a famous fox, a transdimensional fox, degen fat cat, something else, and then we just added this Oogie and Bastard, which was about 30 soul extra that we threw in there. So
What?
yeah,
30 soul?
no, combined. I think Oogies are 17 something and Bastards are like 12.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so pretty solid prize pool for anyone that is in the lending side. Do you have a question, Claw?
Yeah, the for that, like I would assume y'all plan to do that monthly
So
for
far,
the raffle.
yeah, I would say right now the plan is to do it monthly. The main reason being that loans, especially the more prominent loans that I see or give or take, are 2 weeks long. So it's hard to
Right.
do like a bi-monthly on it. But and based
My
off of the fees that we bring in for it, it hasn't been like super, super crazy. So yeah, so I think monthly is how we're gonna start off.
so like my question would be like for the second month, is it still everybody who had for every 100 soul you get a ticket still? Like are y'all gonna keep
I think so.
rolling it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for what it's worth too, is it's based off of repayment. So if you have a loan out that doesn't get repaid until April 1st, or if you don't pay back a loan until April 1st, that volume will count towards the April drawing that we do. So that is important. It's not based off of when it's taken; it's based off of when it's repaid. So I'll clarify that as a point too.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? I don't see anything. Anybody? I know MJ's put in here. Encourage people to use citrus, which is very true. And I'm not seeing. If you could throw questions in Alpha or Federation, just ping me. By the way, or if someone sees something in there that I should respond to, if you don't mind to ping me. I think the last slide I put together was just our missions. So missions went live now due to daylight savings time at 12 noon for me EST. We have one Halo level 40, one hoodie level 42, any hoodie level 42. We've got a Gamer Fox, so the red or green sweater level 40 plus in Den. And then we have two Nun Foxes level 42 plus, two T-shirt yellow Foxes at level 40 plus the Vault Den, and then two Cope level 42 and Cope Den. So pretty solid bunch of Foxes for missions this week. And I believe that's the last slide that I put together here, if I'm not mistaken. So that's like the main updates for the week when FFF Bank. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I'm guessing that's a nod to SVB and such. That seems to be very interesting topics going on. We are not starting our own financial institution. If anything, I think the thing that'll come out of a lot of this is self-custody for funds, which will be nice for people. But yeah. Question in Alpha Chat on the mortgage. If you default, you get your initial liquidity loan price, right? I'm not sure exactly what that means. So whenever a loan is defaulted, the lender gets the NFT and then nothing is exchanged from the borrower's side. So on the borrower side, you would get whatever you had gotten from the initial loan. No, I I dropped the stickers, not yet. No, they're if that's a good point that Donnie sent out there. So in events channel underneath of I should say the last event that we posted in there, Dialect did open up an RE pack of stickers for any Fox. So if you guys are getting packs for Dialect, just fill in your Dialect handle. I'll close it out when they're no longer accepting collection or handles for it. Just as a heads up. Another question from NFT Mods. Defaulters paid back the delta. Defaulters paid back the delta. No, the defaulter. So in the case of mortgages, the defaulter pays the delta up front. That's kind of how it works. So like if the NFT is, let's say, like in the example that I have here, and I'll scroll back because that might help. But if the NFT is 52.63 SOL, I'm paying 6.13 plus whatever the pool fees are in order to purchase that NFT. So I'm paying that delta versus getting the actual liquidity for me owning the NFT up front. So it's kind of more so like a play on like the potential of if that NFT collection is moving up, and I don't have that amount of SOL to purchase into it yet. Um, So the defaulter, if they end up defaulting on a loan from a mortgage, they get nothing, and they've paid SOL in order to kind of have that opportunity to potentially, either profit off of it or to wait until something other time where they have SOL to buy the rest of the NFT out. Cool. It's a good question though. It's a fair question. And for what it's worth too, I'll throw that out there. Tomorrow I'll create a YouTube video for that specifically, talking about mortgages or what we term mortgages. There's no better name for it. That's the thing. Dev was like, can we make a better name than mortgages for it? And I'm just like, I don't know what like to call it, like an advance. Like I don't know. It's a strange product to try to put a name on it. I should open up FFF packs again for dialect. All right, question from MJ. I believe Solana Foundation is focused on DeFi future a lot, and I heard what's coming for DeFi with Fox. I believe lending and borrowing can expand to token side too. What do you think? What could you elaborate on that? So, lending and borrowing to expand to token side. Do you mean um, what I would classify as Solana shitcoins like Foxy, etc., or do you mean something different from a token standpoint of like I don't know USDC and Sol or something more specific? Sometimes like staking Sol to borrow USDC and Foxy. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about like more DeFi products. At its core, like right now, we're really focused on the NFT. Let's call it NFT Fi side more than anything else. When it comes down to like some of these offerings, I don't know if we would get more into the DeFi side, and we have decent connections into DeFi. So if there is something that you think could be built or improved from like the current DeFi system, could definitely reach out to some people to see if they're either working on something or if they'd be interested in working on something. I don't know. I think it's tough. I don't think most DeFi platforms would want to get involved in, again, what I would classify as like NFT shitcoins for DeFi products. And I think it's for the main reason being due to volume, because that's really the DeFi's game is volume. But I don't know. And for what it's worth, like Foxy is fairly illiquid. So again, from a case presenting itself for not having a product like that. Um, yeah, FFF Soul would be terrible. Oh yeah, new for Schiller's. Yeah, the chat that I mentioned, there were a few of us that were having a conversation with Solana Foundation. They were giving us statistics that I told MJ that once I get the presentation from Solana Foundation, I'll post it of just how like solid the NFT space is in Solana, and just the main statistics I threw out there is that Solana has, at least at the time they reported, 8.4 million NFTs across 15,000 plus collections, and that eclipsed Ethereum NFTs. I think Ethereum NFTs were about 7.2 or 7.4. So, um, for as much of like a head start that existed, and I don't know if, again, I don't know if that's necessarily positive or negative, but I thought it was a very interesting statistic for them to present.
Positive.
Positive. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, it's impressive to be able to catch up, in my personal opinion, right? Because NFT culture in Solana, even though Solana existed technically in 2020, NFT culture really didn't start until 21. Some things were a little bit earlier, but for the most part, in that like August, September, October time frame when we were coming into the space. So super interesting to be able to catch up and eclipse that in that period of time. Donnie, you have to contact Brink to get on the portals wall. And Brink, I'm sorry.